What's up, just if Jippy in the house. Okay, so I'm a crossing guard, and when the kids go across the street, I stop them sometimes when they walk by. You got to say good morning. I always say it in English and stuff. So sometimes I walk my kids to school, and when I walk my kids to school, my son, I have him practice his prefectures, memorizations, and sometimes I give him math problems and things like that, because right now he's just studying how to divide fractions and stuff like that. So I teach them squares and different things like that. So when I'm doing it, his friends, they're listening. And one thing I've noticed is when you are talking about something that's new to children, they'll listen. And so they'll listen, and I'll tell them, okay, well, what's 2 squared? And they're like, I don't know. And my son, he gets upset sometimes, and his other friend gets upset because they don't know, and they think it's difficult. And I just said, well, 2 squared is just 2 times 2. What's 2 times 2? And they said 4. And I said, okay, but I said, when you write 2 times 2, what's wrong with this? And then they're like, I don't know. And I said, well, it's too, it takes up too much space. So they, to save space, they just make it 2 squared, and 2 squared means to multiply the 2 by 2. And they're like, oh, okay. So then I start, popping a bunch of numbers from 1 to 10 at them and stuff like that. And then when I walk them to school, I'm walking back, and some other kids, I don't speak to them unless they speak to me. And so the ones that'll say hi to me, because, they all recognize me, who I am and stuff. And being a crossing guard, I give them a math problem. So if they're like in the kindergarten, I'll say like 3 plus 5. I mean, like kindergarten, first grade. I'm like 3 plus 5, and I'll keep walking, and then if another child hears it, another student hears it, they might pop out the answer, and I'm like, okay, very good. And so I do that every day. And it's this one kid, he's kind of tall. I don't know if I think he might be in the 5th or 6th grade. And he's always looking at me and stuff. So, and he always saying hi. He's really friendly though. And so one day I asked him and his other friends, because it's like 5 of them always walking together. And I said, well, what's 5 times 5? I mean, 5 squared. And they didn't know. So I had my iPad. No, I had my iPhone, and I used this thing called AnyNote or something, Note Anytime or something. It's pretty good. And so I wrote, I showed it to him, like I did the 2 squared. 2 squared equals to 2 times 2 was 2 times 2. And they said 4. I said, okay, what's 2 squared? And they thought about it, like, oh, 4. And I said, is that difficult? And they said, no, it's easy. And then I said, okay, 5 squared, and they're like 25, 4 squared, 16, 10 squared, 100 and stuff like that. And so then what I do is, because they do that, so then my next thing what I did was, I was going like, okay, well, what's 5 squared plus 20? And I'll go, 45. And it's real cool, doing that. But it's funny because I think the key to teaching, one key to teach, especially if you're a parent, is that you've grown up, kids grown up learning to be disrespectful to you, or not to be a friend, or not to trust you because of the arguments and fights and stuff that you have in a house. And usually the parents give up, but usually sometimes maybe the parents, I wouldn't necessarily say give up, but they don't know what to do to convince their children that they're right or something like that. And I'm not talking about all parents, because you got some parents that are bad. But it's really interesting, because had these kids, because I know even my son, when we're at home, I try to get him to study, he gets angry and don't want to, but when he's walking to school with his friends, it's a really good time where I can get a lot of, even though it's like a 5 or 10 minute walk, I get a lot of time to put in some extra work. And his friend too, I'm sure doesn't study at home, but when we're walking, and they might get upset, and I'm like, well, why are you getting upset? So I'll turn to another kid, and I'll explain to the other kid, and the other kid will understand it, and then they'll understand it too, because they're listening to the conversation indirectly, well, directly, but I'm not talking to them, and directly, and then they'll understand it, and then when I pop off a question, then they pop off answers and stuff, and it's really interesting. But I make some videos before saying, if you really want your kid to study, maybe you should get other parents. You guys work together in networks to teach the kids in your neighborhoods. And when you're at home, it's really, really, really important to um, just keep that kind of conversation in the house. If you just sitting around doing nothing, okay, what's 100 minus 50? And the kid don't know, just tell them the answer. And eventually, you keep popping off the same things in their head, in their conversation, their mind is going to be preoccupied with the things that they remember, the latest things that they remember. And if those are the latest things that they remember, then, those are the things that they'll think about most of the time. So I just thought I'd share that with you. I'm out. Peace.